Warning, this podcast contains conversations about real-life subjects and topics. We do not claim to heal, cure, or fix any of your problems. We do claim to serve a God who can. We are not financial advisors, doctors, lawyers, or offering any business or health advice. We do offer prayer, hope, and a conversation that may help you process what you're going through. Side effects may include love, peace, and joy, along with laughing, crying, and occasional bursts of hallelujah and amen. This show is a Story Ministry production, broadcasting live from the Beat Studio in Round Rock, Texas.
All right, welcome back to the Breaking Free podcast. Today we're going to talk about spring break. I know it's coming up, and sometimes the holidays are a struggle for us, especially if we're going through recovery or a new season in life, just because there's so many things going on that it's kind of hard for us to kind of keep up. But there's also different emotions, because sometimes when we're going through recovery, we didn't plan out the vacation, we don't have the trip. Now we look on social media and everybody's flying airplanes and riding boats and have all these new toys and doing all these things with their family, and we're stuck here by ourselves with nothing to do. Yeah. And our kids don't get to have fun.
That's true. So you know that addiction is, John 10:10 says that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus has come that we may have life and have it more abundantly. So that is one thing that addiction does, is that it actually steals. It steals family time. It steals memories. It steals opportunities. Yes. It might be trying to steal your spring break right now, and you may still have time to save that. And you don't have to, get a jet or go on a cruise, get those wave runners or do anything like that. Your kids, most likely, if you have kids or a family, a spouse, maybe you don't. Maybe you just have brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, and mom and dad. I can just tell you right now, the people who care about you, what they would really love to do this spring break is spend some sober time with you. That's what they would love. Just real time where you're sober and you're there. You're present. Like, that's the greatest gift you could give. That would be a really good spring break.
Yeah, the cool thing about it also being spring break is you don't always have to go somewhere or go on some vacation. A lot of times you have things right in your own neighborhood or community that you have. There's parks, there's lakes and stuff all in Austin. Now, you may be listening from somewhere outside of Austin, but sometimes it's just taking your kids to do the basic things like parks. Like, sometimes we always think as parents, you're going through recovery, I need to make up all this time, right? I need to go make up for my kids for the time I missed, for the time I wasn't there, for the holiday I missed. So now I have to do something extravagant. We have to go do this. But the truth is, what about all the times you didn't go to the park? What about the time you weren't able to play with them? What about the time that you just weren't able to walk them to school, or just the simple things?
Well, I think that's a big deal, because, what happens sometimes, if you think of it like a baseball, you want to hit a home run, so you swing as hard as you can every time. Well, you wear your body out, and you can't actually just hit a good base hit. Yeah. And so mostly you strike out. Every once in a while you hit a home run, but mostly you strike out. And, Babe Ruth is a home run king for, a long time. And he was also the strikeout king. He had the most strikeouts. So you swing for the fence all the time. You also miss a lot. Well, people in recovery, oftentimes whenever they do get an opportunity to spend time with loved ones, they want to always hit a home run. Yeah. And here's the issue. You get so tired trying to do something extravagant, like you're mentally, emotionally worn out. It doesn't work out quite as well as you hoped. Your kids are not as excited about it. You didn't rebuild all the trust that you lost in 10 years in 10 minutes. Like, I know I lost all that. It took me all that long, but I did take you out to that big game, remember? Oh, so everything's rebuilt. It doesn't work that way. And then we get disappointed. We're like, we still have a lot more work to do. If you can just get good at getting on base regularly, consistently, instead of always trying to hit a home run, and just have a better batting average, like just step up to the plate and just connect with the ball. Just connect relationally. It might be a phone call, a text. It might be showing up at one of their school events. It might be having them, out and taking them to lunch. It doesn't have to be big. The family, loved ones are looking for a consistency. Consistency creates intimacy. Yes. Not big home run hits. That creates a memory, but it doesn't create intimacy. And if you're looking for an intimate relationship, that's what's going to withstand all the different storms of life and actually last throughout their life and be like, man, that really mattered. My dad was around or my mom was around.
Yeah, it's also being able to sustain the relationships with it, too. You could go try to do this big family vacation, but if you've never done that and you don't know how to manage or handle it, it can actually become just a big family disaster and make things worse. So a lot of times it's like you think you want this, but if you don't know how to manage just the small relationships and the small time and going to the park and helping them with their homework and just talking with them on a regular basis, it's going to be kind of hard to have this big relationship with them. Or to tell you the truth, it's not always fair either, because you may have one parent that's working super hard, right? And they're making sure everything's done, taken care of, and you come in trying to I'm on recovery and I would just want to hit a home run, right?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that's awesome, but I haven't been able to give the kids or do all these things, and you want to just come in and like, you don't participate in normal, on a normal basis. You don't participate financially on a normal basis,
Sure.
but now you just came up on this and you want to go spend all this money to try to make up for this time. But the truth is, sometimes we just need to make up on the time.
That's the challenge, right? You want to make up on the time. That's it. That's the part that actually matters. It's the time, and it's the hardest one to give. It's the hardest one to share because it's not something we just see an immediate result on. We're just doing the work and just slowly building it up, I mean, think about other things. Think about working out. People that want to just get there quick, right? They start pumping steroids. They take all kinds of things that are bad for their body. And yeah, they build a muscle a little bit quicker, but they also have roid rage. They freak out.
Yeah.
When they stop taking it, their body collapses and falls apart.
Run up to people at Chuck E. Cheese.
They run up to people at Chuck E. Cheese, like our last episode. I mean, all that happens. And so when you're talking about spending time consistently, you're talking about building the slow way, but that's also the way that it lasts. I mean, if you have somebody build your home, do you want it to take them a month or two, or do you want it to take them a day or two? I mean, I don't really want somebody coming in and building my house in a day. Like, hey, we're starting tonight. Don't worry, we'll have you moved in by tomorrow. I'll be like, whoa, wait a minute. Who are you? What are you building?
Are we going to build walls? And
I mean, what kind of nails are you using? What's this foundation made out of? But I'm expecting it to take a little while because I'm expecting it to last. And relationships the same way. Are you putting in the time for it to last? If you haven't done that, you can't make up for that with some big giant spring break.
Yeah.
But you can start at spring break. You can make a first move. You can spend a little bit of time. You can go to the park. You can do a movie. You can grab lunch. I mean, you can do something that just begins the process.
Yeah. I think that time in relationship is a lot more important than a lot of the things we see on Facebook. Plus, you got to realize on Facebook, a lot of times those are like the highlight moments.
Oh, yeah.
The highlight reels, which means you didn't really get to see when the kids were yelling at each other or fighting or hitting each other, or the part of the vacation where you and your wife got so sick of each other you were ready just to get a divorce, but you didn't post any of that because people don't post that on social media. No. So a lot of times we're also looking at the wrong sources. We're looking at social media. We're looking at what other people are doing. We're not necessarily looking in the Bible or looking at preachers or looking at pastors and seeing what they're saying, what they're telling us, or even other people in recovery. What we want to do is look at those people with almost a perfect life, with the perfect wife, with the perfect house, with the perfect car, and then we're going to compare ourselves to them.
Yeah, there's a saying for that. It's when you compare other people's outsides to your insides, right? So like I look at what you're showing me on the outside, and that makes me feel insecure because inside I don't feel that way. Like you look like you have everything together, but inside I feel like everything's coming apart. Well, that's true, but it's also true for them oftentimes, looking at you. There's a guy at our church one time that, a church that I was in, he came and he was always scared to come to church and always felt nervous and inadequate and all these things. And finally one time I just said, let's sit down, and we went in a side room and sat down. I said, talk to me about why you feel so nervous and afraid all the time, like, and why you feel so out of place. And he's like, well, because everybody here's so happy and they're all doing so well. And I said, oh, okay. I said, what makes you think that? So we actually took out a dry erase board and a marker, and I'm like, okay, so tell me, what do you see when you look at people? And he goes, well, I see people and they're happy. I said, well, how can you tell they're happy? He says, well, they're smiling. So I drew a stick figure with a smile and a little guy there. And he says, and they're also faithful. And I said, well, how do you know they're faithful? And he's like, well, they got their Bible with them. And so I drew a little Bible on the guy. And I said, okay. And I said, and how else, And he says, well, and they're here. So I drew a little church over him. And I had this whole little picture. And he's like, yeah, like that. I said, okay. So I put that aside, and then I took another one with a marker. And I said, okay, let's draw what they see when they look at you this morning. And I'm like, do you smile when you see people? And he's like, yeah, usually. So I draw a guy with a smile. And then I said, okay, do you have your Bible with you? And he looks down, he's got his Bible. And I said, yeah. So I drew a little Bible in the guy's hand. And I'm like, where are you sitting at right now? And he said, well, I'm at church. So I drew a church over the top of him. And both pictures look the same. And I said, you realize that when they look at you, they think the same thing. Like, this guy's got it all together. He's so happy. He's so good. He's so great. And then they feel insecure. So we cannot compare our outsides to people's insides. We can assume that whatever's going on inside of us, different levels of joy, sadness, confidence, fearfulness, like all these mixtures, that's happening in everybody.
Yes.
And if that's the case, we have more in common than we think.
I like that. Yeah. A lot of times we think that we're the only ones that are going through it or struggling with it. A lot of times we like to put ourselves in that situation, or it makes us feel better even. But, I think the truth is we have to start looking at other people's hearts and seeing what they're going through. And a lot of times people don't live the perfect life, or, some people think that I live this extravagant life with my kids. But the truth of the matter is I only get them every other week. So I'm actually trying to make up for 2 weeks of time during 1 week. So, yeah, we do some fun stuff, but we didn't get to do anything the week before. And, it isn't like I'm spending all this money. I've been doing it long enough to tell you the truth. I go to the trampoline park. I could have 10 kids there, and all these people that work at the trampoline park know me. They've never once asked me for, my phone number to check in. All they ask me is how many wristbands do I need.
Right.
I don't even know if I'm still a member there, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I should probably check, but, it's just, $10 a month or whatever for a kid. But I'll bring my nieces, nephews, neighborhood kids, and they just don't ask because,
Yeah. Well, because a consistency, right? You've built up consistency, which is what we were talking about, and that is creating its own connection and relationship. I remember my parents, we did some different things that were fun when I was a kid and took some little trips and stuff. But what I really remember is I remember going to Tillamook, Oregon, to the cheese factory, this place where they make cheese, and you can watch them make the cheese and get cheese and pepperoni sticks and ice cream.
Oh, wow.
And we drive up there, and there's cows around, because it's a dairy farm. And I remember doing that, and I remember stopping to look at elk, like these big elk deer animals on the side of the road. And neither one of those things were very expensive, and we were pretty low income. 7 kids. My dad was a landscaper, and for a good part of our life, and so that we didn't have a lot of money, but we consistently did that stuff. And so I just remember that consistency of we went and did these things. It was our time to connect. It was us as a family. It was me and my dad. It was whatever happened, I know we're going to wind up sitting out there watching some people make cheese and eating a steak. It wasn't always the funnest because I'm a kid. I don't want to drive 2 hours to watch somebody make cheese. But it became part of what we did.
Yeah.
Which then that became part of my security and safety, and knowing that my family is a good family. We're all together because, we're going to go do these experiences together. So it doesn't have to be big. Consistency leads to intimacy.
Yeah, I think just making it also an experience, kind of like you mentioned, because I'll tell you the truth, me and my kids have fun all the time, and a lot of it doesn't cost money. We could be cruising at night, and I'll start telling them a story. It was a night like tonight. Yeah. And they hear me say this thing about everything. It's yeah, right, Dad. But it's just funny now. It's we make it a little adventure or something that we're going, we could just be going to the park, or they're still little kids. So I can just tell them stuff and their imaginations will run wild on it. And it's not like I'm lying to them or making it something else. I'm just making going to the store fun. Right. We went to the store. I went to the store the other day with Daniel and Peace. Peace is our neighbor kid. Peace has never pushed one of the little kid carts at HEB that they have. Man, he was running around, sliding on his shoes and feet and telling me, why are these things so fast? The thing he didn't realize is the carts don't have motors. It's his feet, and he's pushing it, and he's sliding it. But we had a blast the other night, and we just bought, I actually let them pick out their own fruit. They had a blast picking out. One picked strawberries, one picked grapes. They were all excited about it. They were talking about it. And it's just picking fruits and vegetables. They were excited, but it was the experience of doing it. It wasn't I pushed the cart, let's go, kids. I had them get the little kids' carts. They were pushing it. They were grabbing stuff. And I let them choose some stuff, too. It teaches them, some responsibility. It also shows them that it's exciting and can be fun to go do this stuff.
Sure.
And it didn't cost, I was buying strawberries and stuff anyway, so it really didn't cost me any more than I plan on going.
I think one of the things about that, if you're talking with people in recovery, is in order to do that experience, you have to let go of some level of control, right? So OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, people controlling each other, that whole controlling personality that oftentimes leads to addiction because we try to control things we can't. And when we can't control them, it leads to anger or anxiety, which we then try to suppress through alcohol, drugs, sex, isolation, whatever we can to suppress those feelings. The other alternative is stop trying to control everything. And if we can actually do that, which is what you did, let those kids push the cart, let those kids pick some fruit out. Maybe they didn't choose the best, batch of strawberries. Maybe they didn't choose the most discounted grapes. Maybe sliding around and pushing a cart, could have been embarrassing or could have caused somebody to get hurt or any of those things. We can get so controlling of our environment that it stresses us out, it stresses everybody out, and it robs us all of the memories.
Yes.
And so if you're thinking about spring break, I mean, maybe that's something you could take a break from. Maybe you could take a break from trying to control everything and just make a commitment that, hey, for the next week, I'm taking a vacation. Well, what are you taking a vacation from? I'm taking a vacation from control.
Yes.
I'm just going to let go and not try to control everybody. I'm just going to try to, instead of controlling everybody, I'm going to try to enjoy everybody.
Yes.
And just see if there's something there that can be fun and a way that I can connect. I think that's there's a great simple step that you could take without changing your whole life or changing the whole world. It's just one little step. Could you do it for your whole life? Maybe not. Maybe you can't see yourself letting go of control for the rest of your life. But could you do it for just spring break?
Yes. And I watched a movie one time. It kind of helped me a little bit. It's called Yes Day. And the parents went and talked to their kids, and they were having some trouble, and they decided, like, one day where they just say yes to anything. Mm-hmm. They did have a budget per kid, $20, and they couldn't go within, like, I don't know, 20 miles or something like that. So there were some limits, but I watched that, and it's just, like, kind of giving the kids freedom, but also seeing what the kids chose and picked and did all that. And it's kind of like the same thing. I just went to the store, but it's just kind of giving them that freedom. And, yes, they were running around in peace, almost hit a couple people, and I've had some looks. But to tell you the truth, the joy it brought in my heart.
Sure.
Like, even if he would have ran over a foot, is like well worth it because I know the background of him too. Like, for a lot of people, you know, it's just like they just look at what the appearance on the outside and, oh my gosh, I need to control this because he almost did it. But then this is a kid who lost his dad a year and a half ago and has kind of been in his shell. And I am one of the only people that he really feels comfortable with outside of his mom. And not only that, I'm the only real person that he goes out with outside of his mom. Like,
sure.
He goes with me to basketball. And cool thing is this weekend he scored 2 baskets. He's the best stealer in the league, right? And it's just encouraging. I just bring him to basketball with me. It's not like some crazy thing, but even with my kids, I coach them. And it's like, even for spring breaks or whatever, it's like just spending that time, being consistent, showing up. But Peace, he's one of the best stealers in the league. He grabs the ball. The problem is he doesn't know when to slow down. So what I realized the last 2 or 3 weeks, like, hey, when you hit 3-point line, just start slowing down. And now he's finally figured it out. First week didn't go well. Second week, last week didn't go well. This last weekend, he slowed down and he scored 2 baskets.
Wow, that's
2
good.
baskets. He always usually scores like a free throw or something, but he actually stole it, ran, slowed it down, and scored. Like, this kid's going to be...
So that makes me think of point that you're making. I don't know if you're even intending to make it, but you're making about recovery and about spending time with your family or with loved ones or with people that you're trying to make amends with and those types of things. Is we can get going so fast at trying to fix stuff.
Yes.
That we feel like I keep trying and it's making things worse. Because we got to slow down enough for people to receive our change. And so like with Peace there, he's got to go slow down enough that he can actually get the ball in the basket.
Yes.
Because at full speed, the basket doesn't even have time to receive the ball because he's flying by it, right? Well, think of people that way. You've got to slow down enough as you're getting back into relationship with people to present your new self, your new changes, your new care, your new affection. These things, you got to present them at a slow enough pace that they can actually have time to receive it.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just going to go blowing right past them or crashing it off the rim of their heart, and the ball's going to go flying out. And you're like, see, they won't even take it. Well, it's not that they won't take it. It's not that they won't receive you. You're just trying to come in so hot and so heavy, so fast that they don't know how to receive that. They're like, this isn't even real. Like, I don't understand. Like, you weren't like this yesterday. But slow down and bring it at a pace that they can process it and they can receive it. And you'll find that you're going to have a better response from people on the changes you're making and the connections you're trying to restart.
That's really good. Just another point on that, too, is what I would realize is Peace would go so fast and he wouldn't slow down, but he wouldn't make the shot, which that's what we're trying to do. Hey, make that shot, make it good, make that men's, make these people realize, hey, we've changed. But he would miss it because he was going too fast, and then he'd start getting upset and mad at himself.
Yeah.
Upset and mad at himself, just like we do in recovery sometimes. We want these people just to love on us and help us and accept us and, do all, accept all these new things that we've done, just like it's like, no big deal because, we just changed overnight. But now, like, they don't, and we miss that shot, and now we get frustrated and upset, and now we want to quit. And it even happened 2 points. The reason I even thought, and God put it on my heart to tell him to slow it down at 3-point line is because he actually got frustrated with himself and started crying. And I thought, oh, you know what? If he just slowed down right there, he'd be fine.
Sure.
And that's what we do. Sometimes we just push and we go so quick and we want it so bad, right? We want this relationship with our kids. We just want our kids back. Like when I was at Austin Restoration Ministry, that's what majority of it was. I just want to get back with my kids. Even some of them that were gone for like 30, 40 years, like I just want to get back with my kids. Like that's their main thing is like, I want to get healthy and get back with my kids. And we sometimes push so hard for them.
Well, and if they get themselves healthy, and then their next step is, hey, I've been out of your life for 30 years, but I'm here, and I want to be your full-time mom or your full-time dad again, loving on you, caring for you. Let's go to the movies. Let's have lunch. Let's do Christmas together. They're most likely not going to get the reception that they wanted. They're going to get rejected at the rim because it's like, what do you mean? If you come in to say, hey, I've been gone for a long time. I've worked really hard to get myself in a better spot. I did that because I really care about you, even though I didn't show it. But I did this because I love you and I knew I needed to get right. You know, how can I start engaging with you again? How can I show myself to be trustworthy? How can I start building relationship? What works for you? And really talking to them and finding out what would speak to their heart for them to start to open up. And if they say, you know what, you can call me once a month. Let's just start there. And in your mind, you have a panic attack. Like, oh, I did all this work and they only want to talk to me once a month on a phone. Like, this isn't working. Well, maybe that only lasts for 2 months. Maybe you call them this month, you call them next month, and then they're like already saying, okay, well, you respected my boundary on this. So do you know what? Why don't we start getting together for lunch once a month instead of a phone call? And then over the course of a year, you've had all this progress where if at the start you'd have said, what do you mean once a month? I did all this for you and I tried so hard. And now they're like, whoa, see, you're just as angry as you always were.
Yeah, I haven't really changed.
You know, so I don't want anything to do with you. Now you've closed the door. So coming in slower, allowing them to process, making those connections. And you can trust that God will open doors and give you back some of those things. The Bible actually says that he will restore the years that the locusts have eaten, meaning that these old locusts used to come and raid the crops and strip all the wheat off them. There'd be nothing left. But he's saying that he is able to actually restore those years. And you just have to trust him for that as you make the right steps.
And I actually witnessed some of that restoration myself. I mean, honestly, my parents got a divorce like 12, 13, somewhere around there, right around my freshman year. That's when it was finalized. I mean, it was going on before then, but and I always felt like some of my childhood was taken away and stolen, and like, you know, I'd even say that sometimes, or not necessarily say, I didn't really have anybody to say it to, but I'd say it to myself and felt that way, and it's like, all right, but now, to tell you the truth, after my divorce, which I thought a lot was stolen from then, I focus more on my kids and spend more time with them, and it's quality time. And to tell you the truth, it is restoring and giving back everything I had as a kid, like from everything. I mean, I don't only get to experience it with them, I do it with them a lot, but then it's also like just like watching them and their joy that they get from it and their feelings that they could get from it, because I could add to it because I know how fun it was, or like the things that make it more exciting. So when I'm telling them, they're getting more excited and it's becoming a better experience for them than it ever was for me. So a lot of times you hear people say, oh, God can restore this, God can restore that. You know what? It may not be like turning you into like an 8-year-old kid again, but to tell you the truth, when I'm with my 8 and 10-year-old, I am an 8-year-old again, and we are doing these things, and I am a kid again, and we are having fun, and we are talking and having conversations. It is. You
get to relive some of those experiences by being humble enough to go back and have them with your kids and to do that. So, you know, Bible says God resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble.
Yes.
And so when we are actually humble, God pours these graces out on us. Sometimes we again, if you're going too fast, you don't recognize them for what they are. You know, like, oh, I don't have time to go to the trampoline park with my kid. You know, I'm trying to recover. I'm trying to rebuild my life. I don't have time to go sit around the trampoline park. Well, the trampoline park might be the best step you can have in rebuilding your life right now. You know, going and spending that time. So we have to really make a decision every day, like, what life do I want to live today?
Yeah.
And just do it slowly. You know, the Bible says don't despise small beginnings. You know, it's okay to start small and to grow from there. You know, plants, you plant a little tiny seed and a little bit of water, a little bit of water, a little bit more water, a little bit of sun. Yeah. And all of a sudden, boom, this thing's growing into something. We just live in a culture that thinks that you plant full-grown trees and there's fruit on them in the morning. And if we just live in a culture that's now. And the more that you can realize that, you know, it takes time. And that goes to social media and all these things. I mean, everybody wants, man, if I get viral.
Yeah.
Well, real relationships aren't viral. They can be toxic, but they're not viral.
Yeah.
Because viral is like all of a sudden some hot idea happens or some cool thing happens and lots of people are taking a part of it. But real relationships are built one-on-one. Mm-hmm. So automatically it's not viral.
I had a video that went viral one time. It probably has close to 3 million views. But the truth of the matter is, what did it do for me? Honestly, I'm just going to tell you right now. First of all, it wanted me to have more views and more subs and more subscribers. So it was never fulfilling. Never once from the beginning. It never fulfilled me. It never filled me up once. Then, to tell you the truth, you have to deal with the comments. Yeah. And I'd say 50, 60% of the comments are just people talking trash.
Sure.
So then you have this big video that went viral, right? But then you have like hundreds, if not thousands, of people just talking trash to you. They don't know you. They don't know your heart. They don't even know who you are. So all it did was, from the beginning, really caused me more stress, anxiety. All I wanted was more. So even the 3 million views I had, all I wanted was more, right?
Yeah.
The 13,000 subscribers it gave me, all I wanted was more. It wasn't enough. It didn't fill me. It wasn't like I was like, yes, I'm satisfied now. I'm good. But to tell you the truth, the little videos we put out and only get 2 views or 3 views, I know those are people actually watching those, or 50 views or whatever. Like, those are people watching those, and the things we're doing are actually changing lives. And
yeah,
I haven't really got too many bad we usually don't get any comments, so not a bad thing.
Well, yeah, you don't want to get caught up on other people's opinions and views. You want people to actually just be impacted. And real relationship is typically one-on-one in small group. Everything else, I mean, large numbers are cool. They're awesome in life. But if I go to a party and there's 300 people there, I'm probably not having any deep conversations or any real relationships there. Everybody's just high-fiving, partying, dancing, doing whatever.
Too much noise, isn't it?
If I go to dinner with someone right now, okay, this is a real relationship that might go somewhere. And that's the same. If I take out a bunch of kids to go somewhere, that's awesome. But if I just take out one of my kids, or one child that doesn't have a father, or one person that needs attention, that impact is greater. So actually smaller produces greater.
Yes.
Which is completely counterintuitive and against the world's model. The world's model is you need much more in order to produce more, but biblically speaking, and the way that God's designed it, smaller produces a greater result. The faith of a mustard seed can move a mountain. When we do small things, God does big things, and we engage him that way. So just take little steps and in your own life, and with the relationships you have around you, take little steps, make small investments, and just watch what God will do.
Yeah, I like it. And one thing about the mustard seed is, I heard the other day, that most trees especially fruit trees, take between 5 and 15 years to grow. I heard the other day that the mustard seed is actually one of the bigger trees and only takes 6 to 9 months to grow full size.
Really?
Yeah. So the mustard seed of faith, I mean, some seeds of faith, when they're in God, could grow, and they grow quicker too. You don't need to always, oh, this is going to take my whole life, or that's where the discouragement comes from. Oh, I'm kind of doing good, but I need to make up for all this. Small steps in a big direction is the general path of our God. Going to pray us out, Pastor Andy, if you could, and we'll wrap up on that.
Father, thank you for our listeners today, and I pray that their spring break would be a time where they take those steps. Yes. Lord, your word says not to grow weary in doing good, for in due time we'll reap if we don't lose heart. I pray that you strengthen their hearts to not grow weary, that you would give them hope and direction, Lord, to just make the next right choice and to do the next right thing, Lord, to invest in the relationships they have, invest in themselves, Lord, invest in what you're calling them towards, and that this spring break will be one to remember, not because of a fantastical thing they did, but, Lord, because they did something that mattered, that was significant to the people in their lives that they love and they care for. We thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen.